NASA's been putting up with a lot of criticism from all over the place, with some claiming that they've already found alien life on Mars, and others saying that they need to produce more evidence if they're to be taken seriously. Whatever side of the argument you're on, these 5 alien species caught by NASA on Mars are our way of addressing the issue and helping to keep the debate rational. Before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button to get notified every day for more amazing content. With that being said, let's begin. Number 5. Anonymous. Anonymous recently claimed that NASA was incredibly close to finding alien life on other planets, sparking quite a lot of controversy. The notorious hacker activist group didn't have much to back up their theory, however. They quite simply stated the obvious, which is that we're now able to chart distant galaxies with more precision than ever before, and it's only a matter of time before we eventually bump into an alien species. That's not the hard evidence that all the fanfare seem to suggest, but it does make sense. We just think that whoever's in charge of Anonymous needs to step their game up in a big way. Sure, NASA's on the verge of being able to make contact and communicate with alien species, so to speak. This doesn't really sum up the entire issue behind the if and when of such discoveries being made, if they're ever made at all in our lifetime. The odds are stacked against us, at least in the next little while, with Anonymous's claims being a little misguided and their announcement just a little too early to make any real headlines. People are still buying into all of their nonsense, however, and we thought we'd take some time to set the record straight. We get what they're trying to do, but trying to make themselves a part of something much larger than themselves comes across as petty. Anonymous is really grasping at straws these days, and we can't believe that they've sunk so low. They were never to be taken seriously to begin with, and this just proves as much. The great hacker collective picking on NASA is just a ploy to increase the belief in bogus conspiracy theories around the world, and we're not buying it. Furthermore, we can't really get behind it, especially when they're going out of their way to spread disbelief. NASA is making real strides when it comes to space research, and we can really expect good things to come soon. We also think that they'd tell us the second they did. NASA's really given us no reason not to trust them, and we can't wait until they finally do find life on other planets. Hopefully this happens in our lifetimes, but we're not holding our breath just yet. A planet having life on it doesn't necessarily mean that said life will be intelligent. The red planet may not have Martians running around on its surface, but there's still a chance, however small, that microbial life is still clinging to some rock in some cave somewhere on Mars, and that's pretty cool to consider. Number 4. Skull. Speaking of theories, one image is circulating around the internet with plenty of people hopping on board and saying that it could be proof of alien life on Mars. Not just that, they say that the scene portrays evidence of an ancient battle complete with shields and warriors. At least, that's what they think of when they see a blurry image of what NASA says are just rocks and nothing more than that. We assume it's kinda like looking at clouds, hoping to see something familiar in them. When it's just clouds, you can be sure what you're seeing isn't real, but it seems that plenty of people have managed to convince themselves that random rock formations and features must be signs of something strange. You really have to be trying extra hard to see some of the structures and buildings that some people see, but we have to admit that this formation does look pretty cool. Despite the fact that it's blurry and out of focus, zoomed in and altered beyond recognition, this photo does kind of look like a skull. We're not so sure about the shield that people see, but that being said, we don't think that this is evidence of any aliens that were caught on NASA's cameras. It's fun to imagine these things and even look for evidence yourself, but posting outlandish claims of irrefutable proof all over the place and sucking people into the hype unnecessarily is just ridiculous. When all's said and done, NASA did find something interesting, but that something is probably nothing more than a rock formation. What is interesting to think about is that the microbial life that we mentioned in our first point could be lying not too far below that skull. There are so many more realistic theories that could help point us in the right direction and add to the conversation in a meaningful way, other than just posting blurry photos. We get that proof of that caliber is tough to come by, but we should then wait it out and leave the big statements to the people who know better. Don't get us wrong. We're still gonna report on all the news of strange events and creepy sightings, but we're also quite happy accepting the facts as they are. Speculation is one thing, but presenting it as fact just isn't our style. If you do think there's some merit to this story, don't be shy. Let us know what you think in the comments below. We're always happy to promote engaging discussions that help us all work our heads around these tough concepts. Number 3. Rover Discovery. And so we move into our next item, which one uploader has claimed is proof that there are actual structures on Mars. Not only that, but they also seem to be claiming that these structures look very much like those found on Earth, with one shown in the image resembling a barn. Taken by the Curiosity rover, the image was scrutinized by experts and amateurs alike, with more than a few of the latter claiming that something must be there that hasn't been formed naturally. The photo shows what looks like a structure in a huge panoramic shot encompassing a pretty large area. The image is then enhanced with a tiny spot zoomed in on, showing what the uploader says is a teeny tiny alien only 6 inches tall peering out from behind a rock. The idea that a 6-inch alien was seen after enlarging such an indistinct photo is laughable at best, and this image has to be a fake. Even if one tiny frame showed what looked like an alien, we're gonna have to see more than one tiny little critter in that entire shot. If there's one, then there should be more. The idea that there are so many different forms of life on Mars, at least according to the overwhelming amount of media being presented as evidence, on the same planet would mean that it's teeming with life. If that were the case, NASA wouldn't be able to hide it from everyone. That would be a huge conspiracy, which would, in this day and age, fall apart pretty quickly. The entire agency can't be hiding information like this, which is important because the entire agency's staff would know almost immediately if someone found it. The scientific community is pretty open, and they love to share their data for peer review and evaluation. It's what scientific progress is all about, and it helps push us forward as a whole. We get that spreading alien propaganda is fun, but taking the time to scour these images for something blurry and misshapen, or going ahead and doctoring a photo, then making up a story surrounding it, just doesn't seem like it's worth the time if we're being completely honest. Sure, there are probably some strange things going on in the world, but Hollywood has us expecting the wrong kinds of alien life. We should instead be focusing on the things that we can't see, digging into the planet itself and collecting core samples as well as dust and dirt. That is where we're really gonna find alien life, and the idea that it'll walk up to a NASA rover to take a selfie just isn't all that realistic. Number 2. City roof. It seems like it's not just buildings and structures that we need to keep an eye out for on Mars, but also entire cities. We wondered how a complete city could have been hidden from us for so long, especially with all the recent interest in Mars, and the answer is conveniently simple. The Martians have been building their communities underground, which helps keep them out of sight and out of mind. The experts say that the formations are nothing more than eroded sand dunes that were photographed by the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, but that hasn't stopped scores of conspiracy theorists from offering up their own opinions, with many of those bashing NASA for withholding evidence and sweeping the truth under the rug. The area that houses this supposed city isn't all that large, however, meaning that this theory is perfectly in line with the idea that Mars is populated with tiny beings, which helps to explain why we wouldn't have seen them before. Look, this is all getting a little out of hand. The evidence supporting this underground city seems to be that some of the sand dunes seem to be covered in shadow, making it look like they have no base. This, in turn, makes them look a little like ventilation slats that open up and provide fresh air to the city occupants below. Some theorists have also claimed that these could be for temperature control. The person who uploaded this photo and made the initial claim has also said in the past that pictures previously taken of the surface of the red planet featured squirrels and monkeys. This is proof that these theorists are a little out to lunch and not ready to consider all the facts. We also don't believe that aliens would be so humanoid, going as far as to adopt human infrastructure and ventilation practices, which is unlikely. It's also even more unlikely that they passed these same practices down to our ancestors back in the day, but some people do like to dream big. Number 1. Water. The best evidence to suggest that Mars is able to sustain life is the fact that we now know for sure that the red planet holds water on its surface, which is one of the essential building blocks for life as we know it. The search for water on Mars has been a long one that many opponents to the theory said was a waste of our time. NASA managed to find plenty of evidence that suggested that Mars once held water, but in 2015, they found even more proof that water is present, albeit in small quantities, on the planet's surface. This evidence does need to be investigated, and that's what scientists do when confronted with new data, instead of simply making wild stabs in the dark when confronted with things they don't understand. This probably won't lead to much, and we're not even 100% sure that what they've discovered is actually water after all, but it will be another step forward in the search for extraterrestrial life. If we stay on the course and maintain a scientific approach to the way we deal with these kinds of discoveries, then it's really only a matter of time before we find incontrovertible proof of alien life among the stars. Unfortunately, that could end up being a long time coming, but we're happy to wait it out and let the pros do their thing for now. Hope you enjoyed the video, folks. If you did, make sure you click that subscribe button before you head out if you're new. That's all you have to do. Come on, just click it. I know you want to. Oh, and if you enjoyed the video, drop a like. I heard it gives you superpowers in the future or something. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.